Hi there, campers, and welcome to Storytime with Duck. I'm Duck, you're not. And this is the story of the basement explosion. We had this huge lab in an old sausage factory. It was what was the company?
Eckrich.
Yeah, it was an old Eckrich plant. And they made smoked sausage. And under the building, we had tunnels. The building was 3 blocks long. It was like 80,000 square foot building. It was really cool. And we had tunnels that went under the whole building in a sub-basement. And all the main power lines ran through the building. And it had a main bus that was 480 volts, 3-phase, at 500 amps. And it was just huge wire. It ran all the way from one end of the building to the other. And they're about as big around as your thumb. Easy. And it had a lot of problems with flooding because the building sits in the right smack dab in the middle of the Arcadia Creek aquifer. So there was always water in the basement all the time. Like we could ride a canoe around in parts of the basement at certain points. And the building had this massive system of sump pumps everywhere, and they were always in pairs in big sump pits like we've got over there. And one day it's raining like hell and there's all kinds of water in the basement. We're having flaky power issues because the building's just a death trap. And we're doing stuff and we're hanging out. And the power went out. So we're like, okay, well, we'll fix this. And it was a blown fuse, and this is a fuse that's like that big around, that tall, and they're up on the roof. There was a little distribution thing, like a small substation up on the roof. So John, me, and somebody else, I don't remember who, go up on the roof, and we find the fuse, we meter it out, and we get a replacement fuse, and the fuse costs a fortune. We put the new fuse in, and we're like, okay, well, we don't know what blew the fuse, but we got all the pumps pumped out, and we figured it was water somewhere that had just gotten into something. So I was in the building, and down the center of the building on the main ground floor was this big hallway, and it was all tile walls, and a concrete floor and all that, so it's very echoey. And I was right smack dab in the middle of the hallway because I wanted to, keep an eye out and see if I could see anything. And we had people stationed all over the building on radios. And we're like, okay, you ready? Yep, everybody's ready. Okay, everybody safe? Cool, yeah. And he threw the switch. We're like, hit the switch. And he throws this big boom switch. It felt like a grenade had gone off in the next room. And it felt like that for every single person in the building. It was just, the entire building shook to its foundation. And it echoed for like 10 whole seconds through the whole building. It was so loud we couldn't tell where it came from. It was shortly after that the smoke started. Lots of smoke. Lots and lots of smoke. And the fire department came. And we found the smoke was just pouring out of every door to the basement. There was just this thick, black, nasty, acrid, burning plastic, electrical kind of smoke pouring out of the basement. When he'd thrown the fuse, when he'd thrown the switch, the new fuse had tripped instantly, which told us somewhere we had a dead short. After several hours of firemen with big evacuation fans and all that, they couldn't actually find a fire. What they did find was a very large hole. Now, when the firemen arrived, this was May 25th, which happens to be Moose's birthday. After the firemen had done all their excitement and found that, the fire was out and all that stuff, one of the firemen found out that it was Moose's birthday, and all of Firehouse 5, which was the responding firehouse at that time, got together and sang Happy Birthday for Moose in the street. And this was pretty cool. It's also the day that after years of me begging them to come take a look, my dad arrived in Kalamazoo to see our lab for the first time. When my dad pulled up to see the lab for the first time, the entire street was filled with fire trucks. So, I still haven't lived that one down. Now the wires, the main electrical bus had been put in a raceway, which is a big metal box that bolts to the wall and it went through the main utility tunnel in the basement of the building. And the raceway is made out of very thick metal. What they found, they brought to me. That, which is about a 5-pound piece of metal, is where the fault happened. And it was simply moisture inside the pipe. This was completely submerged in water at the time, and we didn't know it. And that's where the short had occurred. And on the inside, this isn't exploded out. It's completely deformed and bowed out and all that. But this is actually melted away. And this happened in a very small fraction of a second. This piece of metal was found embedded in the wall opposite in that part of the tunnel from where it had been mounted, and the entire raceway for about 10 feet in either direction had been blown off the wall. So we keep this as a demonstration. This was done with 500 amps of current. Well, actually probably 1,000 because of fuse trips at double amperage and all that, but this is 500 amps. Thumper is 80,000 amps when it goes off. This was 480 volts. Thumper can go up to 1900. So that's just a cool demonstration of what simple, pure energy can do. And that's today's story time with Doc, the explosion in the basement. Have fun, guys.